Nah, kalau kita bandingin sama orang lain tuh pasti nggak ada habisnya. Jadi bandingin aja karya kamu sama karya kamu sebelumnya. Nah, pasti di sana kan kamu bakal lihat kamu tuh udah menjalanin progres tuh sejauh mana.
And yes, so this is a very good morning, and then welcome all the students as well, like from the, wait a minute, let me remember, the introduction of architecture, and also from the creative industry, yeah? Creative industry lecture. Would you mind to fill the empty seats at front? Boleh maju untuk mengisi bangku-bangku kosong di depan supaya Instagrammable. Just that, so we can have like a decent photo. Yeah, the cap is not good. Well, it is a composition, but do you mind, guys? Yang di belakang-belakang? Don't be shy, Martha said. Don't be too close to the electricity hub there. You will get the radiation. Come on. Come. Give your spirit for today. Woohoo! Come on. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Come on. Bu Vita will help too. Okay. When Martha start the presentation, I would like to see all of the filled seat, yeah? Bu Martha, and then also all of the assistants will help. Okay? Well, this is Indonesia. Oh, really? Okay. Okay. Okay, I have a script here, but I will have an improvisation later. And then welcome Pak Winarna, the Dean of Architecture and Design Faculty, and also Pak Christian Untoro, the Head of Product Design Department, all of the IVI Yogyakarta, Ibu Surya and Pak Jindi from Kuskus Gallery, Martha, and all of the friends, yeah? Welcome. So again, good morning, and we are happy to welcome you all in this special talk by a special guest. And before we start, I have to explain about the safeguarding issues to promote your safety and comfort here. First, we provide 2 restrooms at the right side of this seminar room. And we also provide a musola, the Muslim praying room, at the first floor. Please do not hesitate to contact one of our member, Duta Wacana team, to explain the detailed direction. And we do not expect an earthquake, flood, or fire, and also the simulation as well this morning. Yogyakarta is a very, very hot island, Java Island. Yeah. And so, however, if a major issue happens, please do not take the elevator, but please comfortably walk. We have got 2 main stairs here in the front of this seminar room, and 1 stairs on the right side, and 1 stairs further. And let's heading to the main gate as the meeting point, yeah. And then today's design talk is one of a series of events as a part of the Artist Designer in Residence program, or we called ADIR, hosted by Kuskus Gallery with the generous support of the French Embassy, the Institut France Indonesia, I'm so sorry, and Kuskus Gallery Pali. And, oh, wait a minute. A little bit interruption, oh no. And we're happy to have with us today Mr. Francois Dabin. Ah! This is my first time pronounce French, yeah. Director of IFI Yogyakarta, and Mr. Eko Prawoto, where you are? Okay, yes. And thank you for joining us. The ADIR program brings together French design and the richness of Balinese culture and crafts. This residency invites French designers to immerse themselves in Balinese culture for 1 month, during which they explore natural local materials and learn about traditional savoir-faire directly from Balinese artisans. Oh, this is going to be exciting. ADAR's first resident designer is Marta Bakowski. Wow, you're the first one. Well, that's great. Well, we are so honored to have you here. So she just completed her residency in Bali and is now starting her roadshow. Yes, it's a very, very compact schedule, yeah? Wow. Because you're an artist. And then so that she can share with us, with you, offline and online in the Zoom. Wow, there's so many members as well in the Zoom. And so she will share about her approach to design and a bit about her journey in Bali. Before we start our discussion, I would like to welcome Dr. Ing Insinyur Winarna M.Ark, the Dean of UKDW, to give his welcoming remarks. Please welcome Dr. Winarna.
Thank you very much, Bu Winda, this opportunity to speak. Ladies and gentlemen, brother and sister, good morning, and welcome to Duta Wacana Christian University. Everything what we live, what we use, what we see, what we hear, what we read, what we drive, the result of design. So everything in our life is the result of design. So we cannot spirit it with design. In our life, in our life. For example, this table. Before we use it, we design it. Although even in our building, our interior, our environment, all of things, firstly, we design it. So, any design is expected to lead to beauty, efficiency, and effective. So we can use it comfortably. So you can use safely. Everything is designed. Now we have good opportunity that we can hear and discuss with Marta Bakowski. Thank you for Marta Bakowski for coming and give her sharing and experience and what we call experience and all of things. My thanks, I would like to thanks to also to Bu Surya. Thank you. Franco Dabin, thank you. And our guests, thank you very much. My student, all of students for your coming, thank you very much. So we can share, we can discuss about design. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Winarna, for your kind words. We will proceed to our event, the main event. Marta will present her work as the designer, and we will have a Q&A after the presentation, and you can ask directly, raise your hands. You can have the English or Indonesian, and we can help you later after the presentation. Yeah, not now. There's so many so excited, enthusiastic students. And also, please, our friends on the online Zoom or YouTube, please feel free to drop your questions on the chat box, and we will have the committee to poke us and then to let us know if there is any question. Okay, before I introduce Marta to you all, we will screen a short video about her residency. Where is it? Ding, ding, ding. Where is it? There should be okay, where's the video, guys? Oh, please enjoy. Oh yeah, it's alive. Is it
Selamat pagi. My name is Bakowski. I'm an ambassador. I can't wait to discover your land, discover your culture, discover your craftsmanship and all your beautiful talents. Can't wait to join you.
The first word that comes to my mind is authentic.
Keadaan ini lengkap, tidak ada duanya kalau memang bisa berpadu.
Ini yang dikutip oleh Presiden Soekarno.
Religion and tradition has a huge place here. Understanding the religion, the place the religion holds in everyday life and how it's represented. Basically seeing everyday life, which was to me very interesting. I'm glad we had this experience because it definitely enriched a lot my research. So right now I'm just planting seeds, yeah? I feel like a gardener. I'm planting seeds and I can see some stuff is already sort of sprouting. So hopefully I take them further with Kush Kush Gallery and see where it goes.
Wow, give applause, guys. I already feel goosebump in my neck. Wow, but that is the teaser, yeah? And then we already see the color of Marta. Yeah, so please, I would like now to welcome you to the stage, and then can we have your presentation of the program? I still have this goosebump.
Work? Yes.
Yes.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, let me turn on the light.
Well, first of all, thank you. Does it work? Yeah. Thank you for having me here. at your university. I want to thank again. I think it's, there you go. Yeah. Thank again for this amazing opportunity to do this project, which definitely has enriched my experience a lot. I have a remote somewhere, but we haven't tested it. Can I test it quickly now? There you go, perfect. So today I am going to talk a little bit about my practice as a designer. And later on we will come back to the idea program that I just completed recently, and I will take you through basically the first steps of this project. So I'm Marta Bakowski. I'm initially a trained industrial designer, but I like to call myself a sort of hybrid designer rather, simply because I am somewhere in between industrial design, but also crafts and arts. I take my inspiration a lot from folkloric arts, for example. I like to, look into different horizons. Let's say I'm really not. I try to be a free spirit and work on projects that resonate as much as possible. I'm not the commercially driven type of designer, although it's important to have clients, obviously. So what you can see here is a sort of little mosaic of some of my projects. As you can see, it's very colorful. The particularity of my approach to design is, very often in the classic designing process, you will have a brief, designing a chair, for example, for a client, and then so you respond to that brief one step after the other. And most of the time, color and materials are elements that are considered by the end of the project. And I don't agree with that. I tend to actually use those two elements as the starting point of the creative process. So I will show you a few examples later on so you will understand. So I am, just to tell you a little bit more about my story quickly. I was born in France, in Paris, from Polish parents, so I grew up in a double culture. I did my studies in London at Central St. Martin's School and the Royal College of Arts. And once I graduated, stayed there a little bit more, had a few job experiences, and moved to Berlin. And I had the immense chance to join the studio of Dutch designer Hella Jongerius, who's a huge designer who's also immensely known for her work on color, and she's been collaborating with amazing brands and companies such as Vitra, for example. So that was for sure a very eye-opening experience. And to make it short, back to Paris, thought I would have, an easy way to find a job because I had all that experience abroad. Actually, not at all. I came back. I had a very, as I said, a hybrid profile. I was a bit of an alien there. It was very hard to find a job. So I decided that since I don't fit anywhere, I'm going to create my own studio. So this is what I did in 2013. And since then, I started developing my practice, and I have been, I started working with very cool companies such as Roche-Beaubois, Ligne Rosé, or younger companies like La Chance, who basically started their own business roughly at the same time as I did in 2013. So I've been sending out my drawings to editors and started building collaborations. And on the side, I would also basically develop my personal projects without really having in mind where it would take me. So let's start. There you go. I'm going to take you, so we are going to go backwards, yeah? These are my my latest, projects. And I will take you to the very first one sorry, I've been doing. This is a project I did recently with La Chance. So La Chance is a furniture and object editor back in Paris. They have a very strong Art Deco heritage in their editorial line. And we basically grew up together, working together. They, as I said, they started in 2013, roughly at the same time as my studio. And we sort of started trusting each other as a company and a designer. So this project is a project that is inspired from the Hopi tribe, which is a North America tribe, and they have this amazing particularity to create those beautiful wooden dolls. And I'm not sure I do have an example. So as I said, I draw a lot of my inspiration from, either crafts or specific traditions from specific locations. One day I came across those beautiful dolls in a magnificent museum called the Musée du Quai Branly in Paris. If you ever have the chance to go, I highly recommend. They have artifacts from all over the world. And basically, when I don't have the chance to travel to projects such as the IDEA program, I travel through this type of research. The Hopis are used, they're given to children so they can learn about the gods, basically. And you've seen previously in the images, my work is rather very graphic and bold. So obviously, this type of aesthetic is something that strongly interested me as a starting point. But the editor, La Chance, approached me saying, okay, look, Marta, we went to some very cool design fair and we found this beautiful material. So he was showing me this. This is how do you say, a pattern for shoemaking, yeah? It's been completely knitted by a 3D machine that can, basically it's completely seamless. There's no sewing there. So he came with this type of sample and said, look, I know you're interested in materials, have it. Maybe this is going to inspire you, you can do something with that. So for 2 years we've been developing, so this is the process. So these are like machines that basically knit the whole piece at once from a digital file. And basically we did a whole development of the project. So this is all where we try to innovate is normally they are limited to a certain size of knitting. So we pushed the boundaries of that technique and managed to make pieces of fabric that are going up to 70 centimeters by 70. So these are poofs and ottomans that are basically referencing to the Hopi aesthetic by using the latest textile technology. And it was quite interesting also in terms of graphical work, how we actually ended up with this sort of weird hybrid piece of furniture with a textile that is also reminiscent of, video games and this type of aesthetic. So this is some of my, so there's, behind all of my projects, there's a huge amount of research. May it be pattern research, color research, material research. I think he's tired, he hasn't had a coffee that one. He's dead. Sorry about that. Thank you. So this is some of it. This is just me here spending, hours and hours. So each little piece of knit is, you have to imagine that I was considering as a pixel, yeah? So I've been really working on the pattern pixel by pixel, and also looking a lot at the Hopi heritage to find nice responses for the base of the piece of furniture. that was a version which was more drawn towards the sneakers, because, as I said, those textiles were initially imagined for the sneaker industry. So here is a version that is much more sportwear kind of inspired. Another project for La Chance is the flag carpet. This is a carpet. Carpets are a very easy product. They're like my little candy type of project, because a carpet is basically a drawing. It's a flat drawing. And then you can play on, so this is hand-tufted wool. It has a tuft on different, heights, different levels. And so this editor, again, like they were basically looking through some of my drawings during some project, and they really liked the one you see on the left. And they asked me if we could actually develop into a carpet. So sometimes projects, so this is me after that developing, trying to find, so the effect you get here is you have this main color surface that has those lines that have a certain volume, and depending on how you stand towards the carpet, you're going to have a sort of optical effect. So yes, this is the type of research I'm coming to their offices with those types of collages, and we work from there. So it's a very nice collaboration. Like it's sometimes with editors you send out your drawings, you don't even see the people, and they say yes or no. And with those guys, we actually sit down, have a proper creative conversation, try to measure if commercially the product is going to be interesting or not, if it has a real story. This is a beautiful collaboration I did with Maison Matisse. I don't know, maybe you are familiar with Henri Matisse. He's a very famous, was a very famous painter. And so he died around 100 years ago. And his family decided recently to create a brand that would pay homage to his work, his body of work. You have to imagine a painter that has been working literally his whole life. The quantity of artworks he produced, both in painting, collages, sculpture, is immense. So I was basically in front of a Fuji mountain when I started working on this project. It was incredible. So the idea of the brand was to use design as a base to pay homage to his work and express, some of his paintings. I was very lucky. So the first edition, the first collection that came out was actually, how do you say it? Limited edition, a limited edition. And this limited edition was designed by 3 gigantic designers. Alessandro Mendini, who's an Italian designer. That was actually one of his last projects. Jaime Hayon, who's a Spanish designer, very exuberant, the Pedro Almodovar of design. And the Brulec brothers, who are like some of the biggest designers, the French designers. So I had to do the next collection after that. Good luck to me. And I was signing the first permanent collection for Maison Matisse. So this is the painting I chose from all of the artworks. The reason I chose that painting in particular is because it was holding for me the sort of very basic of color. It has all the primary colors. The way the image is treated is very bold and has this amazing simplicity. It's a beautiful synthesis. Very often when you see the work of Matisse, before he arrives to that final painting, he's been actually drawing and drawing and drawing this composition all over again. And the idea was to create a collection that would be very, high-end, that has the best materials, the best craftsmen working on it. So what I did is that I took this painting and I started considering each element of the painting separately. So I took out the leaves, took out the grid, took out the little triangles, every pattern. That was one palette. And then I took all the colors, that became another palette. And then I took some of the silhouettes, the guitar, the lady, and I basically broke down completely the painting to reassemble all those elements later on a series of ceramics. I deliberately chose to use very generous and large shapes, because the painting in itself is gigantic. It's actually in the States, in Buffalo. So I've been working also on two things in parallel. There was the graphic and color research on one side, and also the actual object design research on the other side. So the silhouette, for example, of the jug is literally directly inspired from the silhouette of the lady. Whereas the plates actually are, I've been thinking about the design of those shapes, The idea was to create something, as I said, very generous. This is some of the production. I'm sorry, this is, where should I point with this? There. Some of the bottles. So every time I was trying to come up with a color range that would speak differently about the painting. This is, sorry, I'm jumping, but this is some of the production images. You can't see anything anymore. Oh yeah. So those pieces are made in one of the best Italian manufacturers in Italy. Yeah. Some more images of the actual product. So they are meant to be centerpieces. What's interesting about this project also is that Matisse, as a painter, used to collect objects quite frenetically, and he used to use them in his compositions over and over again. They became those actors of his life. So this is why this project resonated a lot, because suddenly those objects became a sort of canvas on which we designers could work on. So the way I approached the project was literally, I had to put myself in the shoes of a painter. So lucky enough, I am the daughter of a painter, and I've been basically growing up in this environment my whole life. So I was working, I put aside completely my computer, no 3D, no computer, simply painting all over again, drawing as much as possible, making, I had the prototypes made of turned wood, and I was actually painting the patterns on the actual prototypes, simply because this was the best way to discuss with the craftsmen. This is a project that was also a residency, this time in Puglia, Italy. This is the south of Italy. It's a project called International Design Expeditions, and the idea is to invite 3 designers to completely immerse themselves in a specific location. And the theme is ceramic and food, because the ceramic and food are 2 subjects that are literally universal. So this is the landscape in Puglia. You have to imagine this beautiful red earth everywhere, kilometers of olive trees. It's piping hot. Everywhere you see this beautiful traditional architecture. And we've been working with several companies. On one side, we had the craftsmen. There were 2 companies doing ceramics. On the other side, we were also working with different food producers. So we had olive oil producer, cheese producer as well. We had a masseria, which is a sort of farm that welcomes people and actually serves food there. So yeah, this is the idea of the expedition. It has this sort of circular system of designing, which is much more human-centered and grounded than a classic way of designing. Some shots of the making. So making in general, the work of the hand is super important for me. It's very much part of the process, and I'm one of those designers that really is very bad in 3D on computer works. And actually, after thinking a long time about it, I decided that it was a good thing for me. Because I could get lost. I really need to have the actual three-dimensional object in front of me in order to work. So again, my good old me working on colors. So I've been basically scouting around, walking around the region, collecting samples of colors, photographing the landscape and the architecture, and trying to figure out what would be the essence of that place. And so then we started designing. What was beautiful about this project is that because of the length of the project, because we were directly working with craftsmen and with those other companies, there was barely any time for overthinking, for conception, overdrawing, 3D and all that stuff. There was literally a very direct connection between the brain and the hand and the making. And that was magical, and this is something that you, at least back in Europe, we don't have the chance to do very, very often. So this is a bell that I designed for the Maceria, which is this farm I was telling you about. Their day is rhythmed by the breakfast, lunch, and supper. So this is a bell that rings the meals for all those times of the day. It has the colors of Puglia. This greenish, bluish color is directly inspired from the leaves of the olive trees. The red terracotta inside, as you could see on the previous picture, was inspired from this beautiful red earth you see everywhere. And all the pattern was basically pattern inspired from the local nature, and also some beautiful archaeological elements that I had the chance to see in a local museum over there. It's called Careless Tele, so it means touching the stars, because the Maceria has this, I don't know how you say blason, coat of arms, thank you, which shows a hand touching 3 stars. So, a little symbolism over there. These are bottles I imagined. There are 2 versions of it. One which is called Modenatura, which is inspired from the village of Ostuni, which is called La Villa Bianca, so the White City. It's a beautiful village that is entirely covered in lime, so it's completely white, has those very beautiful rounded edges all over the place, and it has those Modenatures. So these are elements of architecture that are either in a relief or imprinted within the walls. And on the other side, the same family of bottles this time worked with a work based on natural patterns. So here was more development on the enamel. So it was beautiful. I was in the ceramic company. I had the freedom to go from one craftsman to the other and trying all the techniques. And this one consisted in scrubbing the pattern once the bottle was dipped in the enamel. So there was a full range of tests, as you can see here on the image. These are sets of juicers. So you have to imagine Italian cuisine is, you know, you have la mamma, the big mamma, you know, cooking the pasta and, you know, putting the juice, and it's all very generous and very alive, and they laugh very loud, and it's like, you know, this very joyful thing. So I really wanted to also imagine objects that recreate this sort of I don't give a damn way of cooking, and you know, they just press the lime. I guess you have a bit of that also here in Indonesia. You're not too fussy, yeah. You just go with the food. In France, we are much more, you know, picky. So, and again, architecture has inspired a lot the shape. I like creating objects that have a lot of storytelling. So I like to work also on what they are able to evoke. I've lost you again. DJ. Oh, no. Where are we? Yeah, some of the sketches. So again, no fussy, crazy technical drawings. What was beautiful, and that's how lucky we were. We were working with craftsmen that had such a precise eye. They would look at a sketch and recreate the silhouette of the object to the exact millimeter. It was absolutely insane to watch. This is a table centerpiece inspired by the pagari, which are those beautiful little architectures that you find everywhere in the countryside, which are again covered in limestone. They used to be used for storing harvests, and they are very much characterized by those stairs that come from both sides of the building. This is one of my, I don't really like that word, but kind of sort of signature projects. Actually, it's one of the very first projects I developed as my own company. It's called Raise. It's a wall lamp, which is inspired from the technique of basket weaving. I was simply, you know, I was starting my company. I had to make things. I had to get my brain going and get inspiration. So I started weaving because this is a technique that I didn't know. This is also important to point out, is that in my approach, I feel very comfortable being in the shoes of the designer who's interested by crafts, because every time I approach a new craft, I know nothing about it, and this is the point. I have no idea about that craft, which means that I'm going to have a fresh eye on it, and I'm going to be able to make hopefully an interesting interpretation of it. What happens a lot in craftsmanship, those are techniques that are transmitted from, you know, father to son or from generation to generation, and most of the time, what happens is that this craftsmanship hardly evolves. But since our times are evolving, this craftsmanship sometimes becomes somehow obsolete and slowly disappears. So I'm kind of going a bit away of the subject, but it's important to point out that actually what interests me at least, is the way the collaboration between design and crafts can actually bring out new qualities, to a new dialogue that actually can give a breath of modernity to some crafts. So quickly, I started making all kinds of weird prototypes, realized that the materials I was using were very old school, so I started introducing acrylic and waxed cords. And this became not only a piece of lighting, but also a sort of canvas that I'm still using today as a color research sort of base. So it's very simple. It's a central bulb that radiates the light towards the woven center, and it creates very beautiful vibrating elements. It brings out the whole weaving very beautifully in a sort of pointy-ish painting way. Hello. Is everything okay?
Is it a pre-minder?
Huh?
No, is it a pre-reminder?
Yeah, please tell me if I'm like I can like basically chat for ages. So if I'm getting too boring, raise your hand. Yeah. So to make it quick on this project, I presented it as a series of wall lamps at a design fair at the beginning of my practice as an independent designer. And I was extremely lucky because that day at the fair, Roche-Beaubois came around. Roche-Beaubois is like one of the biggest editors, French editors, and they have a worldwide impact. They are distributed everywhere. And they asked me if I could actually design for them a standing version and a table version. And this is a product, I'm very proud because it's a product that is literally how can I say, it illustrates perfectly what I'm trying to reach as a designer, because it's produced industrially, but the weaving cannot be made by a machine. So it's still woven. They found a lady in the north of France who can actually produce it, and that created a whole production site for her. So she started hiring people, training them to do that type of weaving, and they are actually producing the whole weaving up in the north of France. So I think it's an object that reflects the best who I am as a designer. It's this kind of weird hybrid between crafts and industrial design. Some of the latest color ranges that we have been developing. Sorry, it keeps jumping. This is sorcier, which means a witcher. Another project developed with La Chance, also one of my first products to be developed. This is a wall lamp that is inspired from a mask that is produced by, not produced, but it comes from a tribe called Ngil from Gabon in Africa. For a long time I've been fascinated by primitive arts and any type of crafts that come from Africa. I've been collecting masks for several years now. And one day I came across this absolutely gorgeous mask that you see here. It keeps jumping. There. So this mask. It's like an elongated mask that also is used for rituals. And I don't know, it was so striking and it had such a strong presence. And I started thinking about what we know as Western people from those masks, because basically, back in the 30s, people were coming back from those exotic trips, bringing back those masks, and what do we do with them? Of course, we don't have rituals back home, so they were used, as a decoration in the home. And I don't know, there's something wrong about this in a way for me. I wanted to imagine an object that could actually have the same presence and evoke those beautiful masks, but in our own environment. And I was really interested in proposing a light that would be very easy and cheap to produce. Because but obviously everything that is created with craftsmanship usually costs a lot. This is entirely machine made, so we managed to create an object that has both the functionality and also has a sculptural quality to it. So when I work with graphics, with color, with pattern research, it's never for free. I'm trying to. I never do decoration for decoration, if I can explain that way. Again, some color research. I've been making my own prototypes, contacted myself some companies to develop the product, and then came with the full thing to the editor. And it's been developed and distributed since 2015, and it keeps working quite well as a product. And the same company one day said, we would love to have a collection of wallpapers But I don't know. Everything we get is every time it kills the sort of kills the interior and takes the eyes away from our collection of furniture. Do you have any ideas? And I was actually working on a set of patterns that were inspired from I don't know why we came there. That was inspired, a sort of homage to my father's work. My father, as I said, is a painter. He creates very geometrical. It's quite funny. It's only recently that I realized how much he has inspired me as a creator. It's a shame I haven't put any of his paintings here, but some of his paintings have this very distinct rain pattern, and I realized that this is a pattern that I've been repeating unconsciously a lot in my research. My mom on her side was a theater, set designer, and she also asked my dad back in the day, so that was probably the 70s, to create that pattern for her play. So it's a family thing, this pattern that you see here, and I'm very attached to it. So basically, what's interesting about this wallpaper, because it's just a wallpaper, let's not like go crazy about it. The production was absolutely amazing. We went to Czech Republic. This is a factory that is like kilometers long, and this is one machine that like goes all the way down to the other side. And it's that one roll of paper that dances from one metal roll to the other in order to get the print right. So we've been doing color research directly into this kind of big bucket, mixing colors, and it was like messy, it was brilliant. What I wanted again is, okay, wallpaper is a wallpaper, it's like a decorative element, it can sort of structure the interior, but I also wanted it to have a little bit more of a function. And I came up with the idea of adding those metallic paints. So actually, when the wallpaper is put all over the wall, it acts like a light reflector, which completely dramatically changes the space depending on how you are going to organize your light. Another project that, actually the first project that allowed me to travel far, far away to a land that I absolutely love, which is Burkina Faso. This is a project I did in Ouagadougou, also a project that was supported by a French institute over there. It's a project initiated by the United Nations in collaboration with an association called Africatis, who helps women in Ouagadougou to become independent, and they sort of set up a school of weaving, so the ladies can learn and do their weaving and earn money from that. And Burkina Faso is at the border of Mali. Mali has terrible conflicts. So many people are fleeing from Mali to find refuge in the north of Burkina Faso. There are 2 camps. The UN went there and realized that through this crowd of refugees, there's an insane amount of very talented craftsmen. So you have to know that the UN is injecting money into those camps so the people can actually, have a bit of dignity and live properly, is not the word, but survive the best they can. But they thought that it would be interesting to imagine a project in which actually the craftsmen could live out of their talents and their work. So the idea was to invite designers who would come and collaborate with those craftsmen to come up with a collection that could be sold internationally. So it was a very tricky project because suddenly, you arrive in someone else's culture. The problem when designers collaborate with craftsmen is that most of the time the designer comes as the author, the artist, and then the craftsman ends up just making the thing. This is not a collaboration. So it was, first it took a long time to sort of, get to know those people. because they are amazing people. So you have to imagine those very tall Tuareg people. They are nomads. They have those beautiful blue shesh, and they look very mysterious. They work in insane materials. The men work on metal. They produce all kinds of daggers and knives, and they work with goat leather, with a beautiful ebony knife that they rub against the leather in order to give it a shine. So that was us, French designers, those Malian Tuareg craftsmen. But the whole project also took part in Ouagadougou. So that's a crazy mix, because suddenly you have all those cultures mixing together. And so it's a collection that was actually in response to the whole project was called transhumance. So the transhumance in French is the traveling. So the idea of the project was this traveling of the Tuaregs from one place to the other. And there are many themes that come out of that travel. And there is this moment where, water is very important. You're in the middle of the desert, water is important. And so I had this idea of work with calabash. Calabash is a material that I had the chance to see also in Bali to transport water. And I don't know, it was just as it is. So I imagined a collection that was also inspired from the dolo ritual, which is, it's not really a ritual, it's just the way people drink the local beer back in Burkina Faso. And they literally cut the calabash in half, and then they put it on a beautiful little rounded woven piece. This is a hybrid mix of Ouagalese culture, Malian culture, my own crazy approach. And I don't know, by working all together hand in hand, we came up with this collection that actually was successful. Because I didn't mention that this project, initially the idea was that the collection would be sold internationally, and all the money is brought back to the craftsmen into the camps, so they can actually build making facilities and become themselves the teachers for new generations of craftsmen. So that was a completely volunteer project. But that actually completely turned my world upside down once I came back, and this is how I really knew that craftsmanship was going to be a huge part of my career. This is some of the making. Everyone found its thing. Men continued working on the leather part. The ladies were more into the delicate detailing and recovering some elements with that special cord that is used locally for furniture making. And while in Africa, while in Ouagadougou, I was obviously, immersed in the local everyday life. I was fascinated, and it's funny, this fascination came back here when I was in Bali. I was fascinated by the food stalls, like those. The maki is like an improvised bar in front of everybody's house. It's made of reclaimed materials. Some of them look crappy, but I found them beautiful. So I started photographing them in a very frontal way, and that became a sort of pattern that made me want to explore the graphic qualities. So I started making series of collages that were inspired from those maquis, and eventually made a digital translation of one of them, sent it out to Ligne Rosaire, which is a French furniture editor, and it turned out into a carpet again. I lost it, there you go. Which also is, carpets are basically like, this fun product to develop. Another project with craftsmanship, this time a project called Périfabrique, which was initiated by the D-Days, which was an event, like a design event in Paris, like a design week. And the idea was, again, a collaboration between designers and craftsmen, with one big difference is that it is the craftsman or craftswomen who would choose the designer she wanted to work with. just to reverse the whole dynamic. And I was chosen by Maite Tanguy, who is a very talented artist weaver. She's been collaborating mainly with the fashion industry, making beautiful woven details that would be then used in haute couture. And we have in common this love for color. So we started thinking about an object that could actually not be something, you know, that is flat or that is covering furniture. And we came up with this idea of imagining those separating screens that can actually be used as sort of space dividers, basically. But yes, we introduced some elements like, you know, industrially made elements like those little sticks and industrial cords, and we've been weaving nylon and lurex and all kinds of weird materials, but with her savoir-faire. Sorry, there you go. This is some of the processes. This is Maite down there. Can you see anything here? It's like I have a better image here than there. Well, anyway, so again, you see again, you know, color and strong love for geometry in my case. So because geometry is a beautiful base that allows me to work with color freely and actually allows the color to express fully. A funky little project I did for Designer's Box. The principle of Designer's Box is, I don't know if you have that here in Indonesia, you pay monthly a certain amount and you get every month a surprise box that has, I don't know, the very popular ones were cosmetics for girls, so every month you have a set of like new cosmetics, then they made it with beer and wine. Every month you get a cool beer bottle or whatever, like to discover brands basically. So this very clever guy came up with the idea of doing this with design. He wanted to democratize design. And he's been asking famous or emerging designers to come up with objects that could be sent out to people who had a subscription to this thing. And why it was interesting is because this object, we had constraints, not just creative constraints, but also constraints in terms of size, because this is something that has to be sent to thousands of people across the country. So it has to fit in a certain dimension box. It had to be light, and it had to be fun. So I came up with this very simple clock, which I call 360, simply because it can be turned. Doesn't matter how you basically put it, either on the wall or on your table. It can be read either way. And the frame acts as a stand, but also as a place where you can put some objects on it. This project is a personal project called Domestic Playground, and this is just me having fun on my free time. I've been very interested in the principle of decontextualization. So I happen to be, I don't know, on the street or somewhere out and about, and I saw this material that they use for the sport venues or playgrounds back in Europe. It's a granulated rubber called EPDM. One is natural, is made from recycled tires. The other one is actually industrially produced. And I was interested in seeing what would happen if I take a material that is so strongly linked to the world of sports and playgrounds, and what if I throw it into the world of domestic usage. And again, it was for me a beautiful way of playing with the material. So I literally went to knock on doors, found a company that was interested in just collaborating. They were a company making all kinds of playgrounds. And they gave me a bit of their studio to basically experiment. So this is probably one of my favorite parts in my job, is just to sit in a studio, play around with materials, get my hands dirty, and make samples, and try different formulas, and put myself in the shoes of some lab rat or something. And the other side of the project, I'm very sorry, this keeps jumping. No? Yep, I lost it. There you go. I don't know what it's doing. Okay, I don't touch you anymore. So yeah, I'm going to be quick. This is the other part of the project was also the idea of contrasting this material, which at the first glance is absolutely not a sexy material, so to say, for the interiors. What happens if I start mixing it with a more noble material such as glass? So that was also a whole bunch of research, because I needed to find a place that was able to actually blow huge pieces of glass, and the best back in Europe is Czech Republic. They have the Bohemian glass, which is very strong, and they have those capacities to blow gigantic pieces. So this is like a proposition, an idea for a collection that reuses the idea of the wine bottle, you know, the cork that you put into the bottle, and that actually holds the tabletop or becomes a sort of a stool. So that was also presented at some design fairs. Again, me playing around with color. This time I wanted to explore how color could actually transform a material, and I choose to work with concrete. Concrete is like a very manly material. It's used for construction. You see it everywhere, but it's completely blended in the landscape. And I couldn't understand why such how can I put that? How a material that is that you see everywhere every day I've never seen it used with color. So I started experimenting again. Came up with a series of beautiful tints and imagined this series of concrete vessels, which obviously are inspired from, you know, industrial architecture. And while I was sending one of my samples, I accidentally ended up with those types of little dots, basically bits of pigments that didn't get properly mixed, and it highly reminded me of Tiradzo. Tiradzo is a type of flooring that comes from Italy. Basically, people who couldn't afford back in the days to have a full marble flooring would get scrap marble pieces, mix them with concrete, put it all over the floor, sand it down, and that would become the terrazzo. So I wanted to revisit the terrazzo with a twist, this time by playing with the colors. And it's a project that I've been developing for many years. I've been going across France trying to meet, ended up in some weird labs where people actually test the concrete. And so we developed this concrete, which is quite close to the type of concrete that was used for the architecture of the Mucem in Marseille. I should have an image, sorry. It's a building, a museum that has the whole outer case is almost like a concrete lace. It's you can completely see through, and it's a crazy new technology. It's the first time that concrete was really used in such an intricate design. And so my idea was to be able to produce slabs of concrete that could be like minimum width of 1 centimeter, which is quite crazy for concrete actually. So the particularity is that it's a concrete that can be colored both on the matrix and also the grains. So it's completely customizable. And actually this is a product that got interest from a very famous department store in Paris called Le Bon Marché. They were actually remaking completely the whole children floor, and they asked me to come up with a material that would be used for all the furnishing. So that was like over 300 slabs and boxes for, shoe, furniture, etc., etc. These are some of the furniture. And this is me playing around. This is a flat pack concrete side table or stool. So the idea, concrete is obviously extremely heavy. So the idea was to come up with a piece of furniture that would be easy to, pack and send out and fun to assemble. Part of my work is also, patterns, as you've seen. It went crazy. It's spoiling. Anyway, I'm gonna, again, some color research. So, because, eventually I ended up being also a color technician in a company on the side. So welcome to the world of design. You won't be only a designer in your life. You will be doing plenty of other things. But that's what's exciting. So on the side, I also teach design in a school in Paris, near Paris. And from time to time, I collaborate with a company that works on the development of packagings, prototypes for the luxury businesses. And I'm in the color department, so I'm basically like this crazy eye that reproduces Pantone colors and sprays it on all kinds of prototypes of perfume, bottles, champagne, all kinds of stuff like that. It's very fun. So obviously I'm trying to mix it with my practice. So this is just me having fun dyeing all types of wood veneers with basically the vegetables I could find in my fridge. Turned out quite cool, actually. And so back to the Adir. So we saw the Adir movie. I'm not going to put it again. It's very hard for me at that stage concerning the residency to take you through all I've been through because it was a lot. To quickly resume. The first week we've been traveling around Bali, visiting amazing places. I went to very different types of temples, had the chance to visit amazing craftsmen. We saw mask carving, we saw Kamasan paintings. What else did we see? I'm sorry, I'm very tired, so you have to help me. Double ikat weaving, amazing double ikat weaving, very intricate. You will see some of it, but anyway, it's. I was in total immersion, and so there was those places that were sort of custom programmed to see, but also obviously I had an eye on everyday life, So while we were visiting some specific places, I would also always look at things that surround myself, how people live, how people eat, how they organize their lives. So these are, I just extracted some pictures of my research and sort of put them together into some of the themes that interested me. What struck me in Bali is that it doesn't matter where you look, the whole world is completely woven. Everything is woven, from baskets to walls to roofs to flooring, everything. So, like, I remember we went to this beautiful place up in the north of Bali, Chef Yudi. And so it was a pretty much very traditional place that had beautiful craftsmanship. And no matter where I would look, I was literally taking a bath of woven patterns. It was gorgeous. Lontar has a big place in my current research for the Adir program. This is a palm leaf that is, you probably know, I don't know if I'm, okay. But anyway, a fascinating palm leaf. You see offerings everywhere. For me, it was super striking. Doesn't matter where you actually have to be careful when you walk down the road, not to, move one of those offerings with your feet. It's used for many things, from offerings to all kinds of ornaments, to actual functional objects. You can't really see on the left side. Those are those sort of big water spoons, but also some beautiful, containers and things like that. So lantur is a material that I've been playing around with a lot. Kites, no matter where you go, this is terrible. No matter where you go, this has an independent life. It's like my computer, it just does whatever he wants. There you go, kites, thank you. I'm not touching you anymore. No matter where you go in Bali, no matter the time of the day, even sometimes at night, you hear them, those kites. It's funny, when we had the show last Saturday, and I had some conversations after the show with people who were locals, and they were telling me it's funny how you actually looked at things that we don't see anymore. And it's true that the kites are really part of the everyday landscape. So this is a subject that I, really was willing to dive into because of the geometry and colors, obviously, because of what it sort of represents. The boats, how does that work? Oh. Okay. Help? Okay, I don't understand how that works.
Is it easier use your laptop?
No, because we're not connected. I just don't know why is it... well, let's do it that way. There you go. The Jukung fishing boats fascinated me because, both of their shape, the way the ropes are tied, some of the details. I'm trying to be quick on this, but it doesn't want to. Okay. Geometry, I've been seeing beautiful geometric elements, in the textile, in some religious representations, elements of the architecture in some of the temples made of lava stone. I don't know what's going on. Local folklore. So just to resume, the way I function when I arrive in a place that I know nothing about is that basically my brain is going to function like a sort of synthesizer. I'm going to take in all the information, everything that I look at, and I'm going to start making some kind of repertoires, some kind of inventory. A bit like I did here, I'm going to classify the things that I see into sort of sub-subjects. So there's color, there's shapes, there's materials. I'm gonna, a bit like the story I was telling you about the Matisse painting, I'm gonna basically break down the whole landscape and extract subjects that are really, interesting to me. Local folklore is just because folklore is, this is just beautiful. This is, and it's kitsch, but I'm absolutely not afraid of playing around with kitsch. I think you need a bit of that in your life. These are offerings for weddings and for funerals, which are very joyful. Again, this was a picture taken at a beautiful cremation ceremony with this crazy tiger. And next to it, an old embroidery piece of craft that we saw during our stay. A subject that interests me in general, but that I found very prominent in Bali was the representation of nature, be it textile, architecture, even Kamasan painting had beautiful representations. Is there a way we can drag the images a bit, or no? I have no idea how you use this thing, guys. Oh, is it me scrolling? All right.
This is a gorgeous temple, like probably one of a kind that we saw in the north, that had a beautiful sort of primitivism to it, a sort of naivety that you could find also in some details in the double ikat embroideries and some ceramic work. Clever, I'm sorry, this is like, there you go. I call it the clever details. I don't know, it's just, I was looking at, you know, some handles or basket stoppers, even simple things like the wrapping of the rice with that little piece of bamboo or whatever fiber that is going to stop it from unwrapping. Those are also elements that I'm putting in my inventory that would eventually come back through, I don't know, maybe a proposal for a piece of furniture or something like this. Animal representation, also a big theme in my interest. Actually, I have been fascinated by animal representation in the medieval age, and I found a lot of similarities with those insane creatures that you can see in the different religious representations in Bali. Structures and bamboo. We visited. Help me. Undagi, architect, a fascinating man who's been building. I mean, his grandfather actually built some of the biggest Undagi structures ever made, and also we had the chance to visit some companies that produce, I mean, not produce the bamboo, but actually, you know, process the bamboo for it to be used for furniture making. So I've been looking a lot at the structural aspect of bamboo that could be then used for furniture. Food stalls, there's absolutely no order here because this is exactly the state I am in at the moment. It's a mess. This is like all the information I've been taking in and trying to like sort it out. Food stalls, I was fascinated by food stalls. They're just beautiful miniature architectures, nomad architectures, sort of weird aquariums framing the people that actually sell stuff in them. And they have amazing graphical qualities. There's so many typographies mixing together, and vernacular, yes. I mean, there's something in this that sort of resonates with cabinet making back in France, you know. So I don't know. I'm still looking at a way I could translate that into an actual domestic piece of furniture. This is. Well, up or down? Yeah. I know, but it just does its thing.
We can ask them to assist you.
If they hear me, are you here? Yeah, there you go. I don't know why it won't respond. Come on. Okay, so this is. I think my fingers are either too fat. Or can you? There you go. Thank you. This is an extract from the exhibition that is currently on show at Kush Gallery, and it sort of retraces. It's a selection of the research I've been doing. So mainly drawings and photography, and a bit of model making. Again, this is the way I've been. This resumes pretty much well the way I've been proceeding in my approach to this project. This is some parts of an offering that I completely dissected and dismantled. This was a Chile representation, the goddess Chile. And I've been basically taking all these elements apart and analyzing them separately. So we have the lontar, we have some graphical silhouettes that also have a sort of symbolism. So these are all things that I started playing around with. Yeah, the machine won't
Can you go up, please, one slide? Sorry. Yeah, so basically taking all those elements and considering them separately as almost like pictograms. The thing is, you have to understand that where I come from, of course there is religion, but it's not as present. Actually, France is a laic country, so you're not supposed to have any representation of your religious beliefs on you or around you, you know. So it was quite beautiful for me to walk around Bali and have this, you know, religiously linked tradition present everywhere. So there's this, in general, coming back to my interest as a designer, the idea of symbolism, the symbol, the pictogram is something that I think is very fascinating to work with. Just like when you look at, for example, the flags of different countries, you know, they all have specific colors, specific symbols. So these are, you know, ongoing subjects that I found really interesting to work with. Again, color, an ongoing obsession. I've been to this absolutely amazing, mind-blowing cremation ceremony. Where I come from, the ceremonies are rather sad and dark, and it's not we don't have the whole community joining together in order to put together a beautiful ceremony at all. So, but I knew this would be a place where I would find a lot of use of color. So I've been photographing, documenting this ceremony, and selecting the images from which I could actually extract some color combinations that then later became a base for work. So these are some of the graphic research that came out of it. And then the color, the digital color research turned into an actual dyeing research. These are pieces of lontar that I've been dyeing with my team at the back of the gallery. Again, dissecting at that stage all the time. Some kite elements that I started to take apart into geometric shapes that would then be reassembled into something else. This is an attempt to work with both lontar and, I'm really trying my best here. Oh, there. So this is dyed lontar leaves that I have been working with the technique of marquetry. So it's basically inlay. And I'm quite happy with that possible direction for the collaboration here, because marquetry is a technique that has been used in France since, well, before the 17th century. It was used for cabinet making and this type of very beautiful furniture. And actually, lontar has amazing properties as a material. It's actually perfect for this technique, and it takes very well the dyes. So one of my ideas would be to create a collection of furniture that would actually have this technique on its surface. Just me playing around with the lontar, weaving, doing inlay, playing around with. This is the lontar as it is, as you can actually buy it from the markets. So I've been going to markets, frenetically buying all kinds of materials and playing around with them. This is some graphical research based on the dissection of, how do you call them, kites. Some ideas of that furniture that could be referring to the bamboo and unagi structures as a base. This is not a final design, this is just like throwing ideas at this stage. But this is what is exciting at that stage, is everything is possible. You just try out plenty of different things and then start refining until you find something that really resonates. So initially, those elements that you see here were supposed to be research for a lightning that would be inspired from the kite. But actually putting them together, I realized that it was exactly the same language as the puppets that I use for the ceremony, shadow puppets. Again, taking, extracting color palettes from the Jukung boats, trying to arrange graphically those colors so those can actually become maybe, lightnings or pieces of furniture. These are some attempts of drawing all kinds of lamp proposal based on the Jukung language. And I think I'm gonna stop there because you must be all exhausted. So thank you. So sorry, it's a bit messy this end of the presentation, simply because this is the stage we are at right now. I still have a lot of things to process. Many pictures to go through again, probably many exchanges to have with the gallery and potentially the craftsmen we've seen to sort of push things down. But yeah, it's just it's an amazing opportunity to do this kind of projects, because when you are in your everyday working life, working with clients, this crazy rhythm we have back in France. And suddenly to be able to cut everything down and go escape somewhere completely new is a real chance and real luxury, and it's an amazing opportunity. And I thank you again for. So I highly take the opportunity here to highly recommend, if you have this possibility, to travel and go see the world, because I truly believe that. Design is it's all about it's a humanistic discipline, and if you don't go out there and if you don't go speak to people, see how people live, how they work, how they eat, how they sleep or whatever, you won't be able to actually have a good design response. So it's all about the people, and so yeah, the more you can go out there, if you have the chance, just don't ask yourself twice. So yeah, if you have any questions about anything.
Thank you so much, Marta.
Thank you.
Let's give applause to Marta and IFEI. It's really 1 month, and then you already learn so many things, adapt to the culture, a different world, as you said. And then to do the, what we call design ethnography, visual ethnography, now it's just sensory ethnography, in Bali.
Yes, yeah, I guess so. I mean, I'm doing it in a very, in general, the way I approach projects is most of the time very instinctive. And when there are things that I don't understand, some symbols, that's what I was saying, I was quite scared of using some of the religious symbols, simply because to me there are things that are first of all not from my culture, or not things that it's too sacred to touch, you know what I mean, this type of things. But so yeah, I mean it was fascinating just to be able to sort of split all those informations and create a repertoire, I should make it just a book of symbols of Bali to work from. But yeah, it was I mean, I have enough material to work for the next 3 years or something. So.
Yeah, that's why we call it an expert. We have got 2 mics there, and you can use that.
There you go.
It's a little bit naughty today.
I think all the machines are wrong.
Yeah. And I've got so many notes here, and I learned so much from your presentation, your works, your journey. Again, it's goosebump here, because it's something that we're missing nowadays in this digital world. Before I meet you and then listen to your presentation from your work as well, FYI, I have followed her on her Instagram.
Oh yes, please do.
Have you? And check the website as well. There's so many works, like amazing works, and I can feel one word: celebration. And then now, it's like celebration. You have got this signature style, that, as I said, like a simple shape, simple structured, and you say that the geometry, you mentioned that it's important for you because it can be like the foundation of the bold color, and then also the bold color. And now we can hear why she loves color, because it's your background.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a celebration of the background, her project brief. You just like so interested to what is that, like tell what is the project, and then we can see that your passion there. And then also it's something that you they as a young designer need to learn, because sometimes you just like take the brief just like brief, but without any passion and enthusiasm. And also the celebration of the culture and the craftsmanship and the connection itself. And the last one, but this is a very important one, the celebration. You celebrate the limitation. You do know nothing, and then you try it hard, and then that's what we have. And then you play. You always say like, I'm lucky. You mention it like so many times. I'm lucky, and then you say that play. Just play around. That's 2 words, just like you mentioned.
Yeah, I tell that to my students very often, and we tend to forget, like, for me, the best design projects are the ones in which you actually had amazing fun. And personally, the worst projects that I ever produced were the ones where I was tearing my hair out. It was just, or because the client was... I'm gonna stay. Well, not a. Yeah, I'm not a.
Be careful, it's online.
I know, right? That's why it's like. No, I mean, yes, it's
unique. Yeah.
It's also important. Little note for later when you collaborate. Of course, at the beginning, you have to make yourself a name, and you have to, well, basically earn money. But. So you kind of tend to work as a young designers for many companies. Some of them are terrible, but eventually you will work out your way to that point where you can choose the people you collaborate with, and that's I was about to say it's a luxury. It's not. It's just, if you work hard, you eventually get to that point. And there came this moment when I wasn't necessarily looking anymore for collaborations, because people were coming to me, and this is amazing.
Yeah.
But anyway, coming back to that fun, it's elementary, and it's I don't know how it translates later on into the actual industrial or semi-industrial product, but it does. Like you stripe so you saw how it was in the presentation. You start with something that is very baroque, very full of information. Even the drawings that I made now I look back at them, and it's still heavy, So I'm gonna now there's gonna be a process of taking away, stripping until I get to the essence, of the actual object, something that just tells enough of the story, but leaves enough space for people to have their imagination going. So, but it is play. Design for me is play.
Yeah.
Some people take design very seriously.
Yeah.
All the guys who go for electronic design and stuff like that, I could not. So, I mean, there's one mistake that I did younger was, I thought that as a designer I had to be able to master everything about design. So be able to do engineering, be able to do, electronic design, packaging, and this is not possible. Like, at some point you have to choose, and I choose to have that freedom of being able to jump from, one thing that fascinates me to another. And but you have to work amazingly hard for that. I don't know how it works here in Indonesia, but it's how can I say, like back in France, it's tough. There's a big concurrence, and you have to work your way through, which is not always easy.
Well, yeah. I think like we again we call you all of us, it's just like become like the world of creation, architecture and also design. Whatever the design is, we will be like the hybrid design. So what do you want? I have. And then so it's the same dilemma, because maybe some of my students say that I want to be the famous designer, sometimes, and then sometimes you just like see to the outside of the window and do not see what actually we have, what is actually the value and our skills, etc. Maybe one of you has got any questions regarding this, the same dilemma, and what is? Oh yes. Oh okay. Okay, you have to help me too.
Since you mentioned that you're half Polish, I'm curious, is there any project which is inspired by Polish culture? Actually, yes, plenty. Poland is still a very rural country. I used to go visit my family there like once a year, and obviously with the artist parents we would always go to small villages and try to visit those very old school countryside houses and all types of architecture. There's some beautiful craftsmanship over there as well. Like I definitely plan to have a project made there at some point. But anyway, they have this beautiful folkloric art, which consists in beautiful paper cutouts. And actually, I found quite striking similarities with the lontar cutting in Bali for the offerings. There was a very similar language in the shapes. So what was the question again? Polish culture did resonate with the project I'm actually working on now for the ADIR program. But otherwise, Poland is very well known for graphic design, at least the graphic design from, like the 80s, 70s, 80s. And still today we have amazing graphic designers, very, very good typographers actually. And they have an amazing use of composition, of geometry, color, something quite bold and straightforward. And I feel this is something that has also influenced me, obviously growing up with my parents. So there was my dad's painting, which is also quite, modern and geometrical. But also the house is filled with books. And obviously as a kid I was looking at the book covers, mostly Polish books. And those books covers have beautiful typography and graphics that definitely are somewhere in my hard drive, coming out from time to time. So, you know that sometimes culture, tradition is sacred, and some of the elements may not be able to be adapted to the design, or some people called it cultural appropriation. Yes, that's a big subject. Have you met this kind of things? And if there is something like this, how do you deal with that? There are some projects that I completely abandoned because those are things that I cannot touch. If it's done for free, just like, I saw this cool image on the internet, I'm gonna, use it for my project, and there's no background research, there is no actual local, you haven't been to the place, then definitely I call that cultural appropriation. But if it's a work that has been done hand in hand within the place, if behind this there have been discussions, there has been like a strong body of research, and if there are some symbols that you can just, objects are beautiful vehicles for storytelling. If you can talk about it in a very respectful way, then it's not cultural appropriation to me. But again, it's a heavy question, I think.
Yeah. It should be like concern to any matters beyond that, and just like be responsibly of everything that you.
Well, this is why we have been, for the IDEA program, we have been visiting. Actually, it doesn't matter where you go, what you do, and who you speak to. In terms of craftsmanship, everything is strongly linked to religion.
Yeah.
So, what are the things that I can touch? Oh, so suddenly I hear, okay, the masks. As long as they haven't gone through some ritual, they are not sacred.
Yeah.
So there are many very subtle things that. Okay, well, how far I can go once it's, as long as it's not sacred yet, That's I don't know if I make sense, but it's. Again, the background, the context. The context is very important. If it's just ripping some cool pattern, like yesterday we went to see some batik patterns, and actually Surya was explaining, actually this pattern is inspired from the Chinese coin, and this one is has this and this meaning. And for me, it's just a super cool graphic patterns, and I could definitely do something with it and reinterpret it.
Yeah.
But it's super important that you understand where it comes from.
Yeah.
Chinese coins, but actually, what are those Chinese coins and what are they used for, and where it comes from? So very often, I'm going to do a body of research that takes me back all the way, to archaeology, actually.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of research in museums to understand. How things were used back in the days, and what was the culture evolution and stuff like that. So
that's why we call it journey.
Exactly.
Yes.
So as long as there's a journey and meaningful research and an understanding, and as long as you state in your project where your inspiration comes from and why. Then you shouldn't be in too much trouble.
Yeah. Is there any question from here? There's so many questions. One, the lady at the middle, and then goes to Patata, and then maybe I will have to ask you to raise hand again. I forgot. Okay. Please say your name, and are you an architect or a product design? And question. What do you want to hear? I will go. It's like a live concert.
You're like Oprah Winfrey right now.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Ruth Viviani Tiaratitahena, and I took architecture. So my question is, the best designers are team players, and they know how to make a concept and incorporate feedback and collaborate on a project. So how do you work across functionally with other people, like with the craftsmen? Because as a designer, you have different work styles. So how do you deal with that thing?
So what do you mean, like?
Maybe lost in translation as well, like different background.
But that's what's cool.
Yeah, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I usually tend to I actually look for clashes, like the fact that I'm going to end up with the complete opposite. This is when there's friction. This is when it's interesting. If you start working with people that do exactly the same thing as you do, then it's going to be sort of bland, and you just, when you really want your creativity to be at its best, it's when you actually step out of your comfort zone, and when you actually get into that friction, and so like what I was saying before, craftsmen, yes, I don't know anything about this art, so let's go for it, and put yourself in danger, and this is when your brain is going to start working, and then it's this moment when you get to know each other, and there must be something in common. There's always something in common between you and your collaborator. You have to find that little thing, or actually construct it together, you know. So, yeah, I don't know. Like there's I don't know if that answers your your question or.
Okay, I get that. So you like to work with the new things, but despite that, you have something in common with other people because as a designer, yes or no?
Both are human.
Yeah, you have something in common, even you have differences between the projects.
Well, yes, like, I mean, I'm not sure I understand your question, but for example, the screen dividers, you know, I have nothing to do with textiles. The craftswomen in front of me, you know, we come from completely different worlds, but we had color as a common core. So that became the sort of starting point of our whole collaboration. But, or is it more a question about the companies I collaborate with?
No, I didn't ask about the company you work with. I just asked with how you deal with them. And I get that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Sorry.
Maybe like both parties needs have got a willingness to learn, to learn each other. You learn about them, the artisan, probably like when you work with the artisan from other country, and then they try to understand you using the drawings you said.
Oh yeah.
And then you also learn as well about how they communicate, how they do things, and then then you have the base ground.
Well, with the craftsmen in Africa, for example, like it was a proper cultural clash at some point, and the Tuareg people are very proud people, and when I came back from the market with my calabash, they looked at me like, we're not going to work calabash. We work metal, you know. There was this kind of pride, like, no, calabash is for like other people, like we you know, we work with better materials. So I had to convince them. That's also very interesting in this job as a designer, is that, or as an architect, you know, you have to, your creativity, imaginativity is maybe 20% of the whole job, because your job is also about having a good communication, being able to find a sort of common ground, like a common discussion with your collaborators in order for the project to work. So, yeah.
Just yesterday, I said to my class, contrast creates opportunity or eureka moment.
Yes.
And innovation as well. So yes, I've got support.
I mean, the most exciting projects are the one, like when I came to those concrete companies, as a woman, this is only men, as a woman, I arrived there, I'm like, hi, I would love to work with color. They look at me as if I'm a completely nuts person, you know, and eventually I work my way through, convince them through all my, you know, formulas and through my prototypes that it's actually possible and that it's actually, there are people interested, and suddenly, you know, the tendency changed, and suddenly they wanted to collaborate, you know. So yeah, it's just a human experience, basically. It's brilliant.
Masculine versus feminine is always the classic story.
Well, no, I mean, it shouldn't be.
Yeah, it shouldn't be. Okay, go to Pak Tata, the second one.
Okay, thank you. I enjoy your presentation.
Thank you. Sorry, it was a bit long.
Yeah, there's a lot of work I wrote in my book, Design Meet Art, produce a new dialogue.
Yes.
Or the pattern research, exploration pattern, and when the distillation method combine the synthesis process and etc. etc. But there is any question when I more interested about if I'm not mistaken, you said about before design meet art produce a new dialogue. I'm interested in the statement. What do you expect from the dialogue one? Yeah, what the dialogue one, and what's the dialogue exactly for you? It's about intensity, meet, or something, anything, palette, color, or something, or maybe another.
To explain a bit the background, I come from an education where it has always been told me that design does not equal arts.
Okay.
And you probably had that somehow in your education too.
Yeah, okay.
I agree and disagree. You know, I think one can feed the other. Obviously, the arts are much more sort of, the person is turned toward herself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And design is more turned toward the other, right?
Okay.
But I think we live in a fascinating time where our jobs become more and more hybrid. Like we used to be in a society where you're a designer and nothing else. You're a milk producer and nothing else. And I have a good example is I have a friend. She's a dancer, professional dancer, like modern dance, and she applied to an architecture school in Paris. And in France, we like to have very tough interviews in order to enter, like for the, comment on dit, concours, exams, like the entry exams for the schools. It's pretty tough in France. And so she ends up with a jury, and the guy says, "So what are you? You want to be a dancer or you want to be an architect?" And she was like, "Why could I not be both?" And actually, architecture, isn't it a place, a structure that welcomes a body that could potentially dance? Like, why can't you play with those two elements, So because of my background, because of where I come from, I try to find, also because, color, for example, is something that is completely misunderstood in the design industry and also in architecture, actually. It's something that is very hard to sell because it's quite subjective, obviously, and again, it's considered as a finition, like something that comes at the end. So more and more people, I mean, I'm sort of drowning away from your question, so I'm trying to focus again. Dialogue, yes. No, I'm trying to think. It's just I'm in search of. Since my interest is, amongst others, to create objects that have that tell a story. It's but that's why, product design, industrial design. It's about mass manufacturing. So comes from mass manufacturing, the standardization, and there you go. And you're lost in an ocean of repeated shapes and So I'm trying to find that little something that is gonna provoke that an object still can be unique or still can evoke something. I don't know if that makes sense. It's so I'm trying to find different sources that can actually give me the opportunity to create those clashes I was telling about. And one of them is, to meet with other savoir-faire, so the other know-how in order to, so craftsmanship is one of them, art is one of them, it could be music tomorrow. Like now you have new jobs emerging, like sound designer. So people that are from the design world, but also from the sound engineering, and so I don't know. It's just I feel like design with a big D is a job that is sort of flourishing and evolving so much. There's so many opportunities, and I want to keep encouraging this. So those dialogues. I have absolutely not answered your question, but I would need some more time, a coffee, and a cigarette, to be honest.
That's great because your example with the dancer and the architect is great.
Yeah,
that's a good example, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
you should have stopped me there then.
Right.
Again, it's just like it's kind of like refreshment for us, like from, like maybe not, I cannot stereotype, but maybe most of us just like to see like international style like that, like. But you come
that's
here,
bullshit.
Yeah, that's the thing. And you came here as an international, and then you you emphasize how the connection, and then you can again tell the story and then dig into.
But it's funny, we've had a debate coming back a lot between ourselves with Kush Kush, but also with people we've met through the whole adventure, and this question that here in Indonesia people are very much looking up to, what happens in the Western world, whereas you have insane sources here,
stories.
You have no idea. It's just that, but this is not a criticism, because I can say the same about myself. Why are you traveling so far away when in France you have amazing stuff going on too? So, but it's just we have to learn to stop a bit. Like there's a moment you walk down the street, just stop and look at the world that surrounds you.
Yeah.
Just 5 minutes, put your phone away, and look. And I'm sure in just one frame, like imagine yourself as a camera, and just one frame, just here looking at this element, there's already elements that I could use as a sort of starting point for research, Or go to a cafe, sit down for a whole day and observe how people behave. And from those behaviors, you might get inspiration as well. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. Is there any question, maybe like one or more question again? Yeah? Which one hasn't answered yet?
There's a lady there who's a bit shy.
Oh, where is it? Okay, hi. Oh, hi. The mic is mine.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay. My name is Cindy. I'm from Design Product. So, as we can see that you have really a beautiful design, but really a simple shape, like really vibrant colors and patterns. But is there any advice on like thinking process or designing process to keep it simple but yet impactful?
Well, first of all, don't think it's not because it looks simple that it was simple to make most of the time. How to keep it simple but impactful? You shouldn't be even thinking about this at the first place. That shouldn't be your priority. Like this is something you think about towards the end, once you already have all that material, and this is when you start to chisel the last details and sort of refining, But first find a subject that really drives you and that really can enrich your practice, and that you can like flourish, and then you will come up with a design. I don't know. It's not that easy, because in my process, because I put the colors in materials at the start of the project, what happens is I don't have a defined brief. That means that I have no idea. At least in my personal projects, I have no idea what's going to be the end result. Like, is it going to be a chair? Is it going to be a lamp? Is it going to be a pattern or a piece of ceramic? So, I don't know. Like, the style shouldn't be... Style is something you build up with the years. But it shouldn't be your main aim. I don't know if that makes sense. So first work on the actual core of the project, work on the substance, before you start finding your aesthetical writing. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
So I don't have a recipe. There isn't any recipe.
Thank you.
Just celebrate and embrace. Yeah, because like we have that term, like I use that term, like the horse eyeglasses.
Oh yeah.
The horse, and then it just like
yeah.
Don't be that blocked. It's just like going to be the mind block, But again, it's just like the output is the result of the process as well. Yeah.
And we had a cool discussion yesterday, like about taking breaks, the importance of having breaks. Because, as a student, you think, oh my God, I have a deadline, I have to go, and you don't sleep at night, you don't eat anymore, and you're like, and you go hectic, and at the end, you just produce something, And actually, if you take a break, a real break, like a day break, and you come back to it with a fresh eye, then suddenly, because your brain keeps working, meanwhile, you don't know about it, but it does. And then you come back and actually it's evident. Like you see your drawing, this is too much, this shouldn't be like this. Oh, this way, this gesture, this way of using the object, this is not exactly, okay, let's do that research, complete that. And, so it's just, you're like a worker, you're building, one brick after the other. And sometimes you realize that brick actually didn't do the job, so you just replace it with something else. And yeah.
That's good because we have got the head of the department here. So it's a gentle note that we need break. Is it like is it one that you haven't answered? Like, thank you for the insightful sharing. I'm so motivated by your action. That when you weren't accepted for a job, you make your own studio or entrepreneurship. Moreover, oftentimes I've got feedback such as your work is too crafty, artistic, etc., and that design is not an expression of the designer. That I should have been it should be problem-solving product. But then I saw your design and gained your perspective, like it's never wrong to be hybrid. Like starting the design from materials and colors, artist craft and design, yet produces decent products. For example, bringing traditional products to the modern domestic products, etc. Have you ever got limiting feedbacks? And if so, how did you deal with it? Oh, okay, this is about mental health of the designer. How do you deal with that?
Limiting feedback.
Just like to not getting impact on you.
Well, actually, when I start a project, I tend to be, like, as you've seen, like all over the place. Actually, some of my editors, they know every time we have a meeting that they will have to sit with me at least an hour because I'm going to show them plenty of things. And actually, they have a headache after each of our rendezvous. You'll see. But coming back to the limiting. No, what's beautiful with you can be as crafty, arty, whatever you want during the beginning of the process. But then very quickly, at least with industrial design, very quickly you will see that it's not necessarily the collaborator that gives you limits, but the actual process, So I want to make this. I want to make this out of metal, and I want to make this with this and this type of pattern and this type of usage. And suddenly you realize that actually the machine is not capable of making it, that the cost is completely ridiculous. And so actually and I love it, how the processes, the technical constraints also contribute to shaping my design. And I completely let it, I embrace that as well. I like the fact that, okay, this is my initial idea, but actually the end result is completely different. Yeah. And to me, it makes it even more interesting. So, and I do take very seriously the comments of my editors. Because they have a fresh eye, and the hoppy poof that you saw at the beginning, I went crazy with the color research, and I proposed very bright things, and actually it's the company that produces the textile that said, okay, if you want to meet your budget and meet our technical constraints, you have to restrain to 4 colors of thread. I was like, 4 colors? I had 11 colors. Yeah. I was like, great, another boring design, And then I came back home and actually realized that only with 4 threads I could make amazing combinations. So we stayed in the green family, the red family, but just by playing around with the different patterns, I could come up with technical solutions that would make it still look very rich, graphically speaking. Yeah. So constraints are good. Actually, the more you have constraints, the more free you are and the more creative you're going to be.
Yes, that's the thing. Hallelujah.
Amen.
It's because it seems like she's still student, UKDW Hana, who said, mentioned the question. So just treat your lectures as like Martha's editor. More constraints is better.
Oh, that would be bad.
Yeah, I think there's so many still, but you still have got time. Is it enough? Enough or more? Enough. Oh, enough.
He wants to go to have lunch, that's why.
Enough is not enough. Okay, I'm so sorry, but thank you so much for all of the questions, and maybe some of you has got questions, and seems like you will have like this evening event as well. I don't know if you may come, and then there's like RSVP as well, and then you just like tick. There will be Pak Eko as well in this evening in the different venue. IFI, yes. EV Jogja.
Yeah, the French Institute, we have a show, photo show and movie show of the Adir beautiful project, and we will have a very interesting conversation with Pak Eko.
Yes. So at 7 p.m. if you still want, like curious so much with the Martas and also Pak Eko later, please do the RSVP. Yep. Okay, so this is the end of our design talk, and there will be like something like a gift for you.
Okay.
This is a sponsor talking to me for Marta and Couscous Gallery.
Oh. Well, thanks for having us.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure.
Sorry if I was
Give applause, please, again. Again, it's like celebration. Like give applause for us. Okay, Pak. Siapa? I forgot the brief though. What is it? Siapa? Wait. Apa, Pak? Oh yeah, oh please come here. Yeah, come.
There's a brief?
Yes, there's a text. My boss always texts me on the weekend as well, so. Please, Ibu.
No. It's very wonderful. Wonderful journey, and we got a lot of insightful presentation. And then this is the gift for you. And this is the official merchandise for Modenatura University and the newest book profile of our campus. So this is for you.
Give applause. Thank you. Photos. Thank you. Marta and Bu Surya, actually it's a trap. When somebody in Jogja gives you goodies, it means like you will come back here again. So beware. Oh yes, please. Papa. Oh yes. Are you? Bapak. Pak Jindi. Please.
One of them will
at least one good. Is it enough? Okay. Thank you. Yeah, big crowd photos. Abang foto? Mari. Eko. Oh, yeah. Eko, Pak Tata, monggo.
Bisa kelihatan semua nggak? Oh, tentu tidak. Harusnya.
How is it?
Masuk semua bisa ya tangannya. Berdiri boleh.
Oh, berdiri bisa. Is it not? Yes! Hold your breath. Okay. Again. Terima kasih semuanya. Thank you. Thank you. Martha, can you say matur nuwun? Matur nuwun.
Batur nuwun. Matur. Matur nuwun.
Matur suksma, thank you. Thank you so much all. See you in the next design talk. Thank you so much Kuskus Gallery and Ivy Jogja. Thank you as well for the online audience on the Zoom and YouTube. Say hi, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Martha, if any students want to contact you or give asking for an advice and then put a message on your Instagram, is it allowed? Okay. Because young people need support. Okay. Thank you. So don't forget follow her Instagram. And you will have like 10K followers. More.
They're still voting for the next presenter.
Halo guys, nama saya Lucky. Saya alumni desain produk angkatan 2009. Jadi untuk kegiatan saya sehari-hari, sekarang ini saya bekerja di Indonesia Creative Studio. Indonesia Creative Studio ini lebih ke arah studio integrated karena di sini ada juga bidang arsitektur, interior, grafis, dan desainer produk. Yang kita lakuin sehari-hari itu, khususnya saya pribadi, itu biasa lebih ke arah branding kebanyakan di sini itu lebih ke arah F&B seperti coffee shop, terus ada bakery, ada salad, ada stick. Nah, salah satu output branding yang kita bikin ini ada kita waktu itu project untuk di coffee shop salah satu di Jogja, yaitu di Jakal. Outputnya kurang lebih seperti ini ya. Nah, jadi kalau saya boleh sedikit bercerita tentang produk ini, jadi untuk briefnya itu saat itu kita sudah mendapatkan logo dari si ownernya. Untuk beberapa objek yang kita tampilkan di sini, itu sebenarnya kita merespon dari logo yang ada. Logonya sendiri itu mempunyai karakter yang fun dan lebih ke arah modern. Nah, dari situ kita merespon logo yang fun itu ke arah gimana supaya kita bikin suatu ilustrasi yang fun juga. Dari situ Kita bikin juga ilustrasi supaya lebih fun itu dengan memberikan warna-warna yang cenderung cerah yang cocok dengan anak muda. Selain itu juga representasi dari ilustrasi yang ada di sini tuh lebih ke konsumennya. Ini kebanyakan anak muda dan mereka mempunyai kegiatan yang beragam, seperti misalnya ada yang suka musik, ada yang suka berolahraga, bersepeda, ada yang suka olahraga juga misalnya skateboard. Terus kemudian ada juga yang misalnya sebenarnya orang yang mager gitu, tapi gimana caranya kita bikin itu tetap kayak fun gitu. Hal yang paling saya inget banget khususnya untuk di Despro KDW itu yang saya pelajarin adalah nirmana. Kenapa nirmana? Karena saya bekerja sekarang ini di suatu studio integrated. Nirmana itu adalah salah satu bahasa yang universal untuk ngomongin desain. Karena di sini ada beberapa bidang desain seperti arsitektur, interior, produk, dan grafis. Itu saya butuh satu bahasa dalam hal diskusinya. Seperti biasanya tuh kayak kita ngomongin warna, bentuk, komposisi, terus gimana kita mengkonsep sesuatu visual supaya komunikasi dan representasi value yang ingin kita tampilkan di suatu brand itu berhasil diterima oleh masyarakat. Nah, di situ butuh banyak diskusi. Kalau saya pribadi itu biasanya menggunakan bahasa-bahasa yang ada di nirmana, itu makanya penting banget. Kalau pesan saya pribadi untuk para desainer baru ya, desainer muda, kalau misalnya kalian pernah dengar ada Chris Do itu di The Future di YouTube ada, itu dia berbicara tentang dua hal, yaitu tentang generalis dan spesialis. Menurut saya penting banget. Beliau bilang di situ kita harus bisa menjadi kedua-duanya. Pertama, katakanlah kita ingin menjadi spesialis di bidang produk desain, tapi secara generalis kita itu juga harus paham tentang hal lain, seperti misalnya dalam hal arsitektural, hal interior yang tidak benar-benar paham, tapi setidaknya kita juga banyak ngulik ke situ. Karena apa? Supaya nanti ketika kita membuat produk sebagai spesialis tadi, itu hasil itu lebih kaya, outputnya itu lebih bagus dan sehingga bisa berhasil ketika itu dilempar ke konsumen. Yang kedua, menurut saya cukup penting juga ketika kita banyak diskusi dengan lintas prodi lain. Kalau ngomongin di UKDW, produk desain, itu prodi-prodi lain itu ada banyak juga yang bisa kita ajak diskusi, seperti misalnya arsitektur, bioteknologi. Nah, bioteknologi ini cukup menarik karena di produk desain sendiri itu nanti ada mata kuliah namanya biomimikri. Itu kita banyak membuat produk dengan terinspirasi dari alam-alam sekitar kita. Nah, itu kita banyak bisa diskusi sama anak-anak bioteknologi. Kita juga bisa banyak diskusi sama anak-anak manajemen, karena di situ kita akan belajar suatu bisnis, terutama untuk produk desain itu kebanyakan akan diarahkan ke entrepreneur. Jadi itu sangat menarik sekali karena di UKDW sendiri itu sudah mempunyai satu ekosistem yang baik untuk kita bisa banyak diskusi di situ.